Paul, I had about 400, 450 cases when I left the panel. And that's the reason why
Unbelievable.
I left the panel, because I almost screwed up. CPS experts here in California, attorney Paul Wallen. Folks, Destiny from California just called back. If you remember, she was the one we tried to connect with a few minutes ago. So, Destiny, did you have a story to tell or a question to ask? Okay, so we don't have Destiny again. Paul, let me ask you something. You know, our listeners probably don't know, but you and I, my firm, were working on a case together not too long ago.
Yes, we were.
And it had some...
Fascinating case. Fascinating.
Right. It was a fascinating case with some international implications.
Uh-huh. Yes, I never in a million years... You think it's cool to talk about it, right? Because we're not putting names?
Yeah, we're not putting names, and that's fine.
It was the first time in the history of my practice I ever had a judge allow my client's kids to go to a boarding school in Switzerland at such a ridiculous amount of money that I couldn't even wrap my head around it. And the judge let them go to Switzerland, the three daughters and the son with the mom. It blew my mind. And it led to a tremendous amount of problems that I don't think anyone anticipated. But now that case is terminated, and thank God for that.
Right. You know,
Yeah,
that was probably one of the most fascinating cases I ever worked on. And,
yeah,
you
it
know,
really was.
And I think the judge did the right thing. I mean, these kids had a chance to go to the best school in the world. It happened to be a school in Switzerland. And, why deprive them or punish them and not let them go to that school just because their family got involved with DCFS?
My experience in general with DPS, with LA social workers is many of them are very, very, very lazy. And if they have to do anything outside the box or outside the lines, they're going to find a way to recommend against it. And this was a classic example of that. They fought us tooth and nail. I bet you they were blown away that the judge let them go.
Oh, yeah, I think so. I think they were very surprised. I think, as a matter of fact, I got the feeling that they thought they had it wrapped up in a bag and the judge was going to rule in their favor.
Oh, yeah, me too. And my client and the whole situation, unfortunately, as most of these cases do, start with a domestic violence incident where the parents are great parents, great providers, loving parents, and one incident gets them thrown into this mess that they will, at one point they didn't think they were going to ever get out of it.
Right.
And, and you deal with your client, I deal with my client, you had the mother, I had the father. Clients are demanding, they're very demanding people, and they can't understand, as in many cases, how can this be happening? And that's why I feel very, very badly at the number of parents in the dependency court in Los Angeles, Orange County for that matter, who just have court-appointed lawyers. And it's not that they don't try hard, it's just their caseload is absolutely ridiculous. How they can competently represent so many parents in one day, you obviously have done it for years too. What do you think the average amount of cases these court-appointed lawyers have in a day? 20, 30?
I don't know, but I can tell you 25 years ago, approximately, when I was doing court-appointed work in Los Angeles County, I had about 400, 450 cases.
Huh. Okay, then you know.
Just
450 cases.
My attorney told me she had 17 other families besides me that she had to get to that day.
Wow.
That's disgusting. It's not only disgusting,
Right.
it has to be at some level unconstitutional.
Well, it's interesting you say that, Paul, because there was a case in some southern state, I don't know if it was Alabama or Mississippi, where someone sued because the attorney had too many cases. And they had one of those trials, I think it was a 3-panel U.S. District Court decision. And the court, if I remember correctly, said that in that case, the attorney could only have, I don't know if it was 65 or 90 cases max, that the attorney couldn't take any more cases or be assigned any more cases. And I know, that was just that case in that state, in that county. But if you think about it, cases, especially in other states and other counties here in California, it's my impression attorneys have more cases than that. Paul, I had about 400, 450 cases when I left the panel. And that's the reason why I left the panel, because I almost screwed up a lady's life and her 5 children's lives because I forgot the case was on calendar because I had too many cases. And, after the judge let me continue it miraculously, we came back in a couple of weeks. I won the trial. She got the kids. And the next day I quit because I realized I couldn't do this any longer. I just physically couldn't do it any longer.
Sure.
And this wasn't 400 cases, 450 cases done by me and a group of attorneys. This was just me by myself.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
Right.
Our average caseload of lawyers in our firm is 40, and to think that you had 10 times that much. There have been studies done. There have been reports done. I read a few months ago about the average caseload. I don't want to say the number, but it was around the number you're talking about. And I think the State Bar did a report saying that is just way too much. And, of course, the response from the court systems is, well, what do you want us to do?
Right.
We don't have enough lawyers. These cases are still continue to be filed.
Don't have enough money to hire lawyers.
Right.
Hey,
and so
we got to take a break now. We're at the top of the hour. This is The Secret, How to Fight Child Protective Services and Win. We'll be back with more calls, more stories, and more questions.